Well, happy Tuesday, everybody. Here we are again, going live and for the love of dragons. My name is Araya Anra, and I'm a dragon. I'm a good dragon guide to help people wake up to working with the dragons, to themselves as dragons. And I want to thank you guys. We had such a fun feed last week in the group. The "if you could ask a dragon just one question" is always super fun, and I love sitting and tuning into the dragon that wants to respond to each question and to see what comes out, because they're, I love how eloquent the dragons are, and the way they word things to get a clear point across. It's always very interesting for me to see. I love language. I love how they use it and how it's different than maybe how I would respond directly or use language myself. So I want to thank everybody that participated. If you haven't gotten questions answered yet, the feed is still there. You can still add a comment with your question and I will check in on those. But we had a couple questions that I said, you know what, I'm going to go more in depth on that live because it's easier to talk about. And one of those is the concept of dragon riders. So many of you know, I've talked a lot about DragonHearts. I've done a couple different videos that you can search topics in the YouTube channel. So if you go to Invoke Healing International, there's a full dragon playlist. And if you search for Dragon Rider, DragonHeart, you'll see a couple different discussions over the years of the difference between the two. And that's a useful place to start. I'm not going to go into that today because it's already there. But when I do focus on my DragonHeart program, it's to wake those people up that know their dragon, that need to align to that fact, to merge with their dragon and be that one unified being, the pillar that they are in their first and foremost essence a dragon. Hand in hand with that is this aspect called a dragon rider. And this is a different concept that for some reason a soul might choose who is dragon, who can be, if you have your core essence and your first and foremost incarnation was dragon, you can manifest as what I consider dragon rider, where in every incarnation that you have, you come in as both a rider, which can be human form, star being form, any other more bipedal walking nature being. These are the ones I experience. I'm not sure how many other galactic beings they do this with, but it is possible. And dragon side by side. And the beauty of that is that it's a unique relationship in that the soul essence, the energy of it, can become both dragon and rider. It can also merge in and be full dragon. It can merge in and be full rider, or it can be the two separate. And what typically happens in that dragon rider aspect is that, say for example, there's on this planet, even thousands of years ago, there's an outpost where this dragon rider is. There's sentiments towards dragons that are not very nice, so the dragon usually has to stay back in a sheltered, protected place, maybe in the mountains, maybe in a cave. And the rider would then go out into the villages to seek food or companionship or going to the market, whatever those kind of things, needs would be taken care of. I need to buy leather and make saddles or whatever. That in that, if something happens to one or the other would also be affected by it. So if the rider was to go and get in some kind of a brawl, he would then, if he perished from it or would have some major impalement or injury, the dragon would suffer the same. And if the dragon was killed, the rider would also perish. So there's that unique relationship. And part of what I wanted to go into today, which is a little different than I normally do on my lives, I usually talk about a lot of things. Sometimes it stays more of a general nature because I do discuss things in my classes and programs that go into a lot more detail. And I get out my whiteboards and I draw stuff and I talk about things. And I did bring my whiteboard today because I want to bring this piece in. It's new information that I had of an understanding of the dragon rider aspect, which I found fascinating. And this is what I had replied back on the post about it this week to be able to talk about on the live. And this is the aspect that understanding first, just a little backstory here so that you understand the concept. As an oversoul, you might call it oversoul, monad, higher self, light body, we have this aspect that can go into and experience many different forms. So maybe I choose to come and be human. Maybe I choose to go be a dragon. Maybe I choose to go be a star being in the Pleiades. Maybe I choose to be a different kind of galactic being in Orion. That there's all these different possibilities and potentials. And that from that oversoul, you have a certain number of what you might call your DNA or your fractal ability. And so you fractal off, and maybe you use a certain number of strands or potentials to become that star being. That because it's a dimensional layer that requires a certain amount, then you would use a certain amount. And so there's this idea of being able to fractal the self off to have many different experiences. And what's unique about the Dragon Rider experiences, and this is what I wanted to share, is it's the only one that can fractal itself off again. So if you were to have, just in a very rough sketching, if you were to have the main oversoul, I'm going to draw it as, a nice big oval of light. And it fractals off, and maybe you're human here, and maybe over here you go to be a star being in one of the star systems. And maybe down here, this part of yourself wants to go off and be a dragon rider, or be some form of dragon. Well, when you come down here, you can actually, it's set up to actually be able to self-fractal, which is why it can go into being just the dragon, the rider and the dragon, or just the rider. And so this is a very interesting aspect of it that is maybe a little too technical for coming on a live, but it was something that was new, and an awareness that came in of, wow, dragon riders have a very unique capacity in that once that fractal moves off from the main core of our essence, it then has the ability, and it's the only one that I've seen that does, that can actually then choose its fractal again and go into, I can be full dragon, I can be just a rider, or I can choose to be both. And there's reasons to do that. There's reasons in that decisioning. And typically, as I said before, a dragon and a rider will walk side by side and have different roles, but they're always, it's almost like that twin flame relationship where they have two halves that make up that whole, and they can't be split, even though they're in two different bodies. And there would be different reasons for choosing that based on what wants to be accomplished. Different than the DragonHeart that would be able to hold a different level of massive pillar of energy that wants to maintain it unified. And in, for some reason the word sequence is coming, but there must be something within the DNA sequencing that allows a certain set of gifts or capacities to be used that may or may not be able to be used when it's split or is used differently. So I thought that was an interesting thing to bring in about Dragon Riders, and the original question was about how to go about that when I have a path that's called the Way of the DragonHeart for those to expand it in themselves to recognize, one, that they are dragon at their core essence, that two, they would work towards that merge of merging into the self in that way. It would be no different with the Dragon Riders, that they would be moving towards that desire to merge back in or find the place where you are walking side by side with your dragon. And so those of you that are dragon riders here, what you're going to be finding is, instead of your dragon showing up and there being this urge or insistency to merge in and become that full light body, that full dragon self here present within this body, that there would be always the dragon showing up and maintaining its autonomy next to you. And you would feel it as though, that's me, that's interesting, but it doesn't want to merge. It's a different set of parameters. So the awakening to that is no different, though, that you are, one, working through with all of the dragons that are written about in the book, in The Dragon Within, and those that have come since then, with the Pleiadians and the Arcturians are now starting to show up. The Andarans showed up last year. So now I have information to work with them, that they are all here as guides to help us release trauma, to help us move through to that place where we can hold enough light to actually create and be able to access that merge. That is still the pathway forward to get you to that place where you can even recognize yourself side by side with your dragon, and then start to release your own pieces so that you can actually raise the frequency of both, where it would probably get where it's almost very tangible to have your dragon always next to you, in the sense of, I can feel my dragon fully present when I'm merged in, and but for me it's an overlay because I'm a DragonHeart. For a dragon rider, it would be like sitting here and you just know your dragon is sitting right next to you. It's not a dragon guide. It's not one that you've called in to work with. It's actually you. It's the other half of you, and you might have felt that draw, like that twin flame aspect of feeling so close and unified as same thoughts in each other's sentences. All your knowing is packed up in that dragon, and they're transferring it to you. This kind of a relationship. So in the end result, the path is the same to get there, but the experience of it is what's going to be different. And the other piece of the question that came in the end of that thread was something from Deanna, who had asked about dragon councils. And so I thought, rather than trying to type that out, let's just talk about it on the live, because there's probably other people that may have not seen the thread that want to know about dragon councils. And you will experience, when you open up to the realm of the dragons, because there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dragons, right? There's probably in the billions from all the different realms where dragons hail from. And in that experience, there's going to be so many that you encounter. And they do work with councils. They are both councils of their own, where there are councils that are just dragon, much like the Council of Mu, which is the 12 dragons that are holding the tectonic plate grids of the physical earth overlay, and that is the pairs of earth, air, fire, water, black and white dragons, that I'm a part of that council, so I'm very familiar with that one. But there are other dragon councils. There are dragon councils within different star systems. There are galactic dragon councils. There are also representatives that are dragon on larger galactic federation councils, on big universal councils, that in all of the hierarchies, if you imagine all of the beings that are present within the multiverses, and they operate on councils. Why do they operate on councils? So this is something for us to understand moving forward as we progress towards this quantum leap into the fifth dimensional realm, that everything within that moves into community, into service to others instead of service to self. And that when you serve the whole, the hierarchy, the governance of all planes of existence above us do not depend on single leadership. We are moving away from single leadership into round table, which is councils. And this is why we experience different people that channel or are star beings or work with different galactic federation councils. They channel or work with a specific council of 9, council of 12, councils of 20. I've seen them all. I've seen the Dragon Commander Council, which was in the 40s of membership. And so there's all kinds of aspects. What's important to understand is you may have encounters with them. They may come seeking you out because you may have an interaction or a role to play there. You may actually be part of that council as your dragon self. For whatever reason, they're trying to make you aware. You may get information about councils that I've never experienced. It doesn't mean they're not there and they're not real. It means that in all of the different hierarchies, there are so many systems. One person won't know them all. One dragon won't know them all. But they do exist, and it's about understanding the governance outside of this realm is all operated on a council roundtable system that is communal in nature. And so this is what it is all coming into and about, is the ability to step into full communal leadership with no one standing above the other. And this is why there's always councils involved when we start connecting with beings that are of a higher energetic nature, and they're trying to communicate with us because they're showing us these principles. They're moving us into that. They're helping us get to the quantum field, and so we have to understand their leadership and how they operate. And so a lot of times they'll bring us in to experience that, just for that, to bring that kind of understanding and knowing and seed potential energetically into this plane. So some really interesting questions and good topics this week. If you have a question or a topic you want to bring in, please send it to me. Email, message, put it in one of the comments on the threads, because this is how we get these discussions every week. It makes it very fun to answer what you guys want to know. Where are you going? Because I can talk about anything I want with the dragons, and that's always fun too. But when I know that I'm giving you guys the tools that you're seeking out in this moment, that's what helps me out. So Also, as far as tools, you can see I pulled the black and white dragon image today. I'm wearing black and white because I'm in the black and white energies with my DragonHeart group today. But I also felt called to bring in this guy. If you haven't been on the lair yet, there are so many. There's over 150 different dragon items, and some of them are made specifically for the lair, this being one that is a Dragonite series. This is the Silver Dragon, and what has been created for me is all of the lineage, the elementals, the black, the white, the crystal, the gold, the silver, the copper, have been created, and the Syrian dragons with this Dragonite, with those codes embedded in them, and then they also get a transmission going out to you. And for some reason, I don't know who's on the live or who's going to be on the replay, but the Silver Dragon wanted to connect with one of you, and so maybe this one is waiting to be called home by one of you. And if it is, just go on to dragonwithin.com/lair, Lair, to see all the different ones that are there. And I think I'm going to bring the Andaras out next week. I think I'll talk about the Andaran dragons a little bit next week. And I just had the first set of all the dragon pendants with the Andara stones, went very quickly. So I had another set, they just arrived, and so I'm going to be getting those out onto the site soon, but maybe I'll show them first next Tuesday. So hopefully that answers your questions. If you need insight or input, I apologize for my dogs in the background. They're very excited about someone outside, maybe a dragon. I do have a dragon in my backyard. It's partly what brought me to this property. And I do always have dragons at the corners of the property. But, I do discovery calls. I do 20-minute discovery calls. I do dragon readings, full readings. If you're not sure where your next journey is or where the next part of your journey is, give me a call. Let's see. What do you need? What are the tools that you need to unfold into what you're seeking? Where do you want to open up? What would be the best thing? Would it be an online course? Would it be some guided meditations? Would it be one of the programs, maybe the book club? We just had an amazing 6-week book club. As I told you, it was a very intimate group. It was a nice small group. I usually have 10 or 11, and it was about half that. I think we had 6, and it made for very amazing discussions. So it was a very cool format to do, and we got to do a lot more things within it. And that is always very powerful. I know that many of the book club people end up going on to the Way of the DragonHeart program because they see how quickly results come from working with the dragons and getting that direct guidance and input as we work together, face-to-face, one-on-one, or in a group sphere. So I will probably do another book club in around April, May. So if you are keen on that or curious about it, send me an email, araya@dragonwithin.com, so that I can get you all the information, because I do keep a short list, and I let those people know before it goes public, so that if it does fill up and gets those 10 or 11 spots full, then you've got one. And honestly, this was the first time that I haven't, and it was really a reprieve and a blessing, because we got a totally different experience from it, which went a lot deeper, so that was amazing as well. All right, I'm wishing you guys a beautiful week. Enjoy the equinox. I'm going to be doing an activation with my DragonHearts on Sunday morning, Pacific Standard Time, at 10:30 a.m. So tune in. You may feel the power of that coming through. If you want to just tap in and just set the intention to tune into my group, you will feel the expansion happening. We're going to be working with Lemurian templates, activating the Lemurian grids that go way back, because we're finally ready to access those after many of the Atlantean crystal pyramids have been reactivated, and we're being shown now the Lemurian templates. We're able to go back and rise into those. So if you have a Lemurian connection, you might want to tune into that. It will not be broadcast live or anything, but energetically, if you go into meditation at that time, you're going to feel it, and you're going to probably have some dragons come around to assist you. And I will be sure that when I'm doing that I set my intention and have a host of dragons available that will be going out to all those that are tuning and connecting into that energetic web on Sunday. All right, happy spring equinox for us here in the Northern Hemisphere, fall equinox for those in the Southern. I will see you next Tuesday. Have a great one. Bye, everybody.